Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This is one of a series of podcast bonus episodes that are going to be called Comedy Night in the Spotlight, where I'll be speaking to people on the comedy circuit who run their own gigs, giving them the chance to tell you, the listeners, all about it and how you can get involved in watching the comedy they put on, and also how to apply. So it is my great pleasure to welcome today's guest is Conor from Slap and Giggle Comedy.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. It always sounds weird when people introduce it as Slap and Giggle. I know I picked a silly name, but I am reminded when I hear other people say it every time. But I think that works for it. I think when people hear Slap and Giggle Comedy, it either makes people think or makes them laugh. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I did mention this to a friend of mine. He said, that's a really weird name. I said, yeah, but you're never going to forget it.
Exactly. And I mean, one of the ways that I tend to kind of do it is on Instagram, and I'd like to follow a lot of comedians, and I have find that a lot of people, if they've just found out that they've been followed just by Slap and Giggle, they do tend to have a look at it. So
Yeah,
it
I
is
bet.
working.
Cool. So, the night itself. So, first, I guess the first thing we want to kind of get into is how long's it been running, and why did you start it?
So I now run three venues, and I originally started it back in August, I believe. So it's not hasn't been going on for too long, and it all kind of started because I was doing the open mic circuit, and it wasn't the kind of shows that I wanted to kind of do. And I thought, oh, I reckon that I can run my own show. I reckon that'd be a bit of a challenge. And from there, I was doing hosting pub quizzes. So for the first
Okay.
venue I got was the Coin Laundry in Clerkenwell, which is still one of my most popular venues. And I
Yeah.
would do the pub quiz there on a Tuesdays. And the most people that ever turned up was, I think, eight. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so the pub quiz didn't last very long there, but it's got a lovely kind of like cornered off area. So once the pub quiz has got cancelled there, I actually went and spoke to the venue personally and said, "Look, you know me. I've been here for the last few weeks making four people laugh downstairs. Like, can I put on a
yeah.
comedy show?" And so they basically went, "Yeah, we'll do a little trial." Yeah, it's just gone from there. Where I'll do Coin Laundry, which is in Clerkenwell, Never Forever, which is in Kentish Town, and The Little
Yeah.
Yellow Door, which is in Notting Hill. And they're all on two, so I do them every 2 weeks.
Oh, so you'll do like the Clerkenwell on week 1 and week 3 of the month
Yep. So
laundry.
yeah, that
So
way.
is it 2 gigs a week, or is it 1 gig a week every 2 weeks?
So for instance, at the moment, it's next next Tuesday is going to be the Coin Laundry, and then the Wednesday after that uh, is going to be Never Forever, and then the Little Yellow
Yeah.
Door. It's a newer venue, and they're quite popular in themselves. So it's kind of as and when I can do shows there. So it's not as regular, but
Okay.
that's something that I'm hoping to change. Which one was it you come and did for me?
I did Never Forever.
Got ya. Yeah, it's a bigger space Never Forever.
Yeah.
But I've had some really nice nights there, and it's sometimes a little bit harder to keep the crowd kind of going, and because it is a larger space, people kind of like hide away at times.
Yeah. I did like the Never Forever. The thing that always struck me when I was there was there's like, I think it's an air conditioning unit that's at the back of the stage
Yeah,
on the ceiling. And I always looked at before I went on, I looked at that and went, I'm just under 6 foot. Trying to work out how tall you were, and you're obviously very tall. Thinking, right, how far forward do I need to stand until I take that one step back and go, ow?
I mean, low ceilings work for comedy. Low
Yeah,
air conditioners make for concussions. But yeah, no, there's the back of there's a certain part of the back of the stage there that I can't get to without kind of going
yeah,
like that. But I think you don't want the opposite of having too high a ceilings, because I think that it doesn't kind of help with laughs. I feel like large rooms laughs get lost in. So have it
yeah,
nice and small and compact. But yeah, no, I've had it a few times where I can't fit on the stage, or where I kind of have to like slump down,
yeah.
which is an odd problem to have, and I never thought I would really get into.
Yeah, I do distinctly remember somebody. This is a bit of a tangent. I remember somebody getting on the stage at G&B at the Star of Kings, and they stood on the stage and their head was touching the ceiling. So they're
Yeah,
having to take the
I've
trainers
seen
off
that
just
twice.
to bring them down a bit.
Yeah, yeah. They've even got like a little kind of stage there as well. They just need to like
Yeah.
shave off a few millimeters just so people who are 6'5" and over can actually manage to get in there.
So you mentioned, is it Clerkenwell was the original venue,
hmm
and so how did you go about selecting like Never Forever and the
So
other venue that's just
I
gone?
was what happened was I originally started with Coin Laundry. I'd been running that for literally I'd done 5 or 6 shows, and somebody come up to me and approached me and said, "Oh, can you come do a show with us?" We no longer
Okay.
do shows there; just didn't really work out. It wasn't the right venue for it. And
Yep.
then Coin Laundry and Never Forever are part of the same chain. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so they're completely different venues. You wouldn't be able to tell looking at them. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same person. So when things are going well at Coin Laundry, they kind of said, "Do you want another one?" I'm like, yeah, sure. So now I've got that, and we've got everything set into place where I go there and I know what I'm doing, and they like having the comedy there, and they like having me there as well, which is good. So
Yeah.
it's worked out quite well. And the other venues, I've never really gone out and looked for it. I've just been asked. And
Okay.
there's not kind of like any lack of comedy in London for by any means,
Yeah.
but I am more cautious about who I do want to work with and things going forward because I don't want to just the main thing I do with my nights is I put on nights that I would want to perform at.
Yeah.
And realistically, starting off in the open mic circuit, it's rough, and you do go to a few strange gigs where there's two people in the audience and they're
Yeah.
both talking the whole time. And I would never want to do a show like that again. So I thought I'd make shows that I want to do, where it is a bringer, but hopefully
Yeah.
that will be changing, just because sometimes every now and then the nights can be a bit quiet, and I always want there
Yeah.
to be an audience. And I
hmm
pay for ads for every single show out my own pocket. So to make sure that there is an audience. So like for Tuesday's show, next Tuesday, I've just had a look before we got on. I've got 72 seat reservations for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of
So how? I
roughly
was gonna say. So how
numbers
many
that I
can
get
you
every
track? How
time. And I
what's?
mean, I've still got the ads running until Tuesday, so I reckon it'll probably
Yeah.
be about 100.
Wow. That's impressive for a London open mic.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's something that people aren't really doing as much. I don't really get ads for open mic nights. I don't see them
No.
advertised to me, and it is the thing of it's a free night of comedy. If you don't like it, you can leave. And I think
Yep.
that's probably not the thing that I should be saying, but it is an open mic. Like I do get every kind of form of comedy on, and sometimes they're not good. And sometimes they make the
Yep.
whole audience feel a little bit weird. But I still give them one chance
Yeah.
before remembering their name and potentially not sending out emails to them in the future. Um, but yeah, no, I try and advertise for it like a normal comedy show because we do get some really good acts in, and they are
Yeah.
making people laugh, and they do need comedy is one of the only things that you can't practice it by yourself. You can say the words out
Correct.
loud, but
Yeah.
you can't get a reaction until you do it in front of people.
Yeah.
And I found that it's so much easier to make a room full of 300 people laugh than it is like 30 because
Yes.
it
Yes.
travels.
Yeah.
And I want to put as many people down in there. I haven't got 72 seats down there, but it has ended up where there are people standing at the back. But I know for
Yeah.
a fact that 72 seat reservations normally means probably about 50 people turn up. So I always want to make sure I'd rather have it be like almost exclusive where people can't get in because it's going to be so good than
Yeah.
just not enough empty chairs and things like that.
Yeah, so this I assume like the seat reservation then isn't actually isn't like a kind of paid ticket. It's a free ticket that somebody can use to reserve, and then uh, I assume there's from what I remember there was a collection at the end, just like a
Yeah.
bucket collection for anybody that wanted to donate anything.
That's the one. So yeah, with the reservation, so all of the ads that I run kind of push you to my website where the show details are, and then it says to
Yeah,
reserve seats. Please put your details in, and we'll basically do that. It's a reservation in the sense that yeah, I there will be a seat reserved for you, but that's because I know roughly what that's going to turn out as. I've had
yeah,
it where if I have uh, like 100 reservations, realistically, I think 50 to 60 people will actually turn up. But it's a way of getting
yes,
people to do that little bit of like, yeah, we're going to go to this, and also it sends an email
hmm
the day before reminding them and things like that. So it's a system I've all
yeah,
built into my website that does it automatically. So yeah, that is quite nice. And yeah, it is a bucket at the end of the night. I rehearsed my bucket speech more than I do my own set sometimes because I have found that keeping the humour even whilst I'm asking for your money, that is quite helpful. And I always say, like, look,
yeah.
thank you for supporting live comedy. We couldn't do it without you. If you would like to come out and give a little bit of money, we do appreciate it. But if you can't, just come to another show. That's payment enough.
Yes, no, that's a nice way of doing it, I think.
Hmm. I don't like force
So
anybody anymore.
no,
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 the knife
not
is
anymore.
off-putting. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to, I guess, mention is that one of the nice things you seem to do on your nights is that you record everybody,
Mhm. Yep. No cost
which
involved. I'll ask.
yeah,
It's worth a try. But yeah,
yeah,
I've done shows before, and what I found was that the times that you really want to watch the videos are when you haven't done great because you want
yeah,
to see why. And I think
yeah,
that I've certainly before I've paid 11 quid to get a video of me doing shit. And I kind of feel like if you want the video, you'll get it for free. I will ask it for a little bit of money, but it doesn't matter if you don't have to. At the
yeah,
end of the day, it is you're performing for me, so you're doing me a favor. So the least I can do is kind of like I'm not at a point where I can pay every act. I'd love to get to that point, but it is
yeah,
just the fact of I want to provide a space for people and also a service because at the end of the day, you're without the comedians, there it would just be me doing an hour-long show. No one wants to see that.
yeah. Yeah, you never know.
No, not just quite yet. Anyway,
Have you got an hour's worth of material?
I can do it. I've probably got in total material that I feel good with doing on stage 20 minutes, but again, hosting nights and running my own nights has been a lovely way to polish it because I'm seeing
Yeah,
so many different comedians go up there, so many different styles. So, and also when I run my own nights, like I'm willing, I've got free reign to try and try out new material as and when I want. Is I'm
yeah,
not kind of binding myself to the 5 minute timeline that's given to people. If I'm having fun, I'll just stay up there and I'll do as long as I want. No one can tell me
yeah.
otherwise.
So, I guess one of the main things for any comedian that's actually listening to this is that hasn't performed is how do they go about applying?
So I try and make it as easy as I possibly can. I've got on my Instagram, I've got a pinned post with the detailed instructions on how to do it, which is basically just sign up for the mailing list. The mailing list, I send out an email around 2 weeks before each show, sometimes a month, depending on how on top of things I am, which isn't
Yeah,
very often. And yeah, just reply to the email and tell me what days that you can do.
yeah,
So originally I was using things like Gig Gag, but
hmm
I've just reached a point now where I don't need to. Like, even for this month, the beginning of the month, I sent out for 2 shows. I sent out the email, and I think I ended up with probably about 80 or 90 emails. So
okay,
it's I'm not looking, I'm not like trying to get axed. That's not really the issue. It's just trying to get enough
yeah,
space to get everybody on. And of course I like to do diverse lineups. I don't want to just see the same people over and over
hmm
again. I want to see new faces, and I understand that comedy crowds are full of all different people from all walks of life. Why would I
yeah,
show them just one kind of act? So I like to book it to make sure that kind of every base is covered as well. But yeah, no, I'm with the emails. I give people 3 days to reply, and if they don't reply, I give out their spot. But I keep people up to date as much as possible. So even
Yeah.
today, when I'm before we got here, I've started up editing the videos of last week. I'm trying to go through the emails, and I've got them down to 62 now. So that's a good number of emails that actively need replying to.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good. So you're getting 80 email replies for how many spots in total?
Two.
Then? Is that for two weeks worth of?
Yeah, and that's some people
Nice.
saying, "Can I get on both? Can I get on one? Can I get on this one, not that one?"
Yeah.
And yeah, I've found that the longer I kind of give it, the more responses I get. But then it means that there's longer. I find that longer times when people booked in, you get a lot more dropouts because people forget and things like that. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I do is I always overbook my nights because it's an open mic. You're not being paid to be there. Like, I don't feel
Yeah.
bad about people not turning up if like, or just like
Hmm.
cancelling on the day. I know that life gets in the way, especially with bringer shows. But
Yeah.
I do say to quite a few people, like if their bringer has dropped out, I'll say, look, just make it up for, come to a show in the future or something. We'll work something out. Or on the
Yeah.
odd occasion where I go and do other shows, I've got a list of people who owe me one, so I'll just call them up and be like, can you come be my bringer for this competition?
Yeah. No, I think that's actually quite a good way of doing it, because it's always some nights where you see if you don't have a bringer, then you can't perform. Does that mean that that spot's not being filled?
Yeah.
So you end up with the gap, and I guess with a lot of people, if you don't have the bringer, if you leave it to the very, very last minute and you turn up and you go, I've not got a bringer, and you've done it more than once, then you might be taking the mickey.
Yeah,
But if
and
you
at the end of
it's
the day,
kind of
I
the
can just
first
not book
time,
them. I have
yeah,
had it where I've said to somebody like, oh, if they've messaged me and said, look, my bringer's just dropped out. I went, do you know what? It's fine. I've got a lot of people in. This fine. We'll come down. And then the second time, I'm kind of like, well, all right. Did you a solid on the first one at least? The
yeah,
only one that actively bothers me is when people turn up and then go, oh, I haven't got a bringer. So well, you could
yeah,
have emailed or told me. I'm not like I normally am like, yeah, it's fine. But on certain nights where I would like a few more people in, is
hmm,
to get the crowd there. And it's not just for me being like I want to make lots of money. It's no, I want there to be a
yeah,
crowd because I'm going to go up there and I'm going to try and be funny. So I want it to be as easy as possible.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, it's one of the things. And I book about 15 to 16 acts, and then
hmm,
realistically it's 12 to 13 because I
yeah,
like to have my show start at 7 and I like to be finished by 9:30. So I like to be because I do all my shows after I finish my day job, so I'm tired.
yeah. No, I get that. It's the yeah. Sometimes that if you got the nights that run on for far too long, it feels a little bit. It becomes more tiring for the audience as well, and if
It
you
just
get the
makes it
feeling that the
harder for
audience
people
don't
going
want to
at the
be there.
end.
Yeah,
It's you
no, I
because
completely agree.
everybody's either drunk or tired. Because I've done
Yeah,
some shows where it's like ending at like 11 o'clock and we've been there since like 8, and it's kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, everyone's a little bit sleepy and they're not getting the responses that some things deserve. So yeah,
yeah,
no, I like to have it quite brief and quite down like that. But I've had some nights go longer, but as long as things are going well, I can kind of. It depends on how much material I do in between acts.
yeah,
If I know that I've had a few cancellations, then I'll do a little bit longer. But what I try and do is also book a 10 spot to close out the first half as well. Just somebody that I know um,
yeah,
that I know is funny. That because I always tend to lose a few people at the lunch at the break, sorry. It is the
yeah,
fact of if there's been a few not as strong acts at the end,
yeah,
some people are like, "Do you want to stick around to see the rest?" No, no, leave. So I like to kind
yeah,
of finish on with somebody I know who's funny, who at least that way, kind of it kind of points off, going, "Look, there's going to be more good stuff. Stick around." But with it being a free comedy night, it's never like enough to worry about. It's not like a mass walkout.
no, no. So, have you ever had anybody famous grace the stage yet?
No, not
Either
really.
currently famous or what about if you think is anybody you've seen who you thought will go on to the
There's a
next
few
level?
people that I mainly just see them grafting, and I think that you've got to put the hours in as much as possible. I've got people
Yeah,
that I've got like the same few people who every time I send an email out will reply, and
yeah,
when they're good, I like to give them the space that to actually try, but I'm also making sure that other people do get on as well. Yeah, I think there's a few
hmm
people who definitely have a career in comedy, kind of going forward, but yeah, it's just time will tell, and it's what how much you put in. And I think
yeah,
one of the things is I want to kind of see people do that because I want to have a video of like with my little Slap and Giggle logo being like, oh yeah, they performed for me. Now they're off doing
yeah,
big things because like a self-absorbed way of making myself feel like I've helped.
yeah. I mean, you've given somebody the space and the time to grow in
Mm,
some kind of way, haven't you? And I guess that's some kind of self satisfaction. Because I think it's Kyle at G&B always says his aim is to get people not to perform at his
yeah,
gigs,
yeah, he
get
said
them
that to
away
me
and
as
into
well.
bigger things.
Yeah,
But
it's like that dating app where they're like the aim of this dating app is to be deleted. Like that's what G&B is. But
yeah. So what's the? I guess this is always quite can be quite a funny thing. Is sort of memorable moments from the nights you've run. There, what's there must be some kind of disasters.
yep.
Uh, without naming any names, any stories you'd like to recount, or would you rather not?
Oh no, I don't care. It's comedy. We're putting ourselves out there. If you can't, if like, if I've had a stinker, I know I've had a stinker. But the ones
Yeah,
that get me is very alternative comedy. I
yeah,
I don't know why, but I've seen people really try some stuff, and it has just fallen on deaf ears. Of
yeah,
I think the kind of crowds that I get in, and the kind of the people that I tend to book myself, I am a pure quite high energy, tell some jokes, try and make people laugh. And there are some people out there who find making a whole room full of people feel uncomfortable was funny, which they
yeah.
get what they want. And just lots of people, like I've had it a few times where at gigs where people have come a few times where one of them was somebody who I'm not quite sure what you could even call it, but she pushed herself onto the stage on a skateboard with a broom and then just
Okay.
like shouted at people for like 4 minutes. And it was quite odd to the point where people in the audience were looking at me. Like, I don't know. I can't do anything with this. I'm going to give everybody. The only reason I'd ever stop a gig is if somebody was just being like rude, sexist, racist, anything like that. But otherwise, people get their
Yeah.
5 minutes, and I mean, they've got to do it to get better. But yeah, just alternative comedy isn't always my thing.
No, no, fair enough. What about some of the positive, more memorable ones? Has there been ones where you've just seen the room just in absolute raptures at what somebody's done on stage and
Oh yeah,
just absolutely killed it?
we've had it quite a few times of like applause breaks and everything like that. I've seen some great comedians make people laugh, and it is the thing of it is instant gratification of when you can like level a room and like you have to wait for people to start to calm down, and all it does is it just kind of creates a nice vibe. And
Yeah,
I've got a clip of me that I need to put up of I had someone who come on stage and we was a bit alternative and bit odd, and there wasn't many jokes. It was just kind of shouting, and I don't know if I saw
yeah.
it shouting. And I thought I need to win this crowd back, so I picked up a chihuahua from the crowd and just went on stage and did crowd work with the chihuahua for a bit, and everybody loved it. I did like 2 minutes just holding a chihuahua and talking to a chihuahua. It was my
Yeah,
girlfriend's sister's dog, and I went, "Give it here. I want to try this." And the second you walk on stage with a big man like myself and a tiny little dog,
yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh, like a little comedy duo." And the dog just
yeah.
looks absolutely just like not having a clue what's going on. So if in doubt, small dog.
Yeah, I was at a gig the other day where one of the comedians brought their dog along, and it was another little dog. I don't know. I like dogs, but I don't know what they're called. And it sat by the stage, just looking up at him, and it was the most adorable thing I think I've seen for a long time. Just sat there, arse on the ground, just looking up at its dad, going, "Go on, Dad, give it some." And it was just brilliant. It was
Yeah,
absolutely
I've been
amazing.
heckled by dogs a few times. I was doing a show at the Coin Laundry, and I don't know why, but they decided, this group of people, to sit in the front, at the front of the Coin Laundry. I've kind of got it so it's like biggest, taller seats at the back, middle seats in the middle, and then I've got two
Yep.
really low sofas. So they sat there with a corgi, and the corgi was absolutely brilliant for everybody apart from me. Just whenever I would do like any jokes or anything, it would bark at me, and then
Yeah.
everybody else had no issue at all. So I took that one personally.
So I guess it's a question I've asked a lot of comedians as well over the last few weeks. But one question that I haven't really asked many promoters as such is, what's the one thing you'd like to see change on the open mic comedy circuit?
I think just kind of nights cultivating an audience, just
Mm,
trying to get people to come to a show and like, repeat it and actually want to go again. And it's the kind of thing of,
yeah,
even before I started doing any form of stand up, like I tried going to a few different nights, and there's never anything that of them trying to keep you as like a audience member. It
yeah,
is kind of, if you want to come and see open mic comedy, it's a gamble. It is a roll of the dice. You can have absolute lovely nights where all of the acts are on fire and everyone's having a great time. You go out of it and think, oh, that was good, and then you
yeah,
just forget about it because there's nothing kind of trying to keep you there. There's nothing kind of saying like, oh, we do this, and it's amazing just kind of saying to people, I've got. We do this every 2 weeks. Come back. It's going to be different. If you've had fun, there's a high chance you're going to have fun again. And it is just the
yeah,
fact of, a lot of the open mic circuit is an open mic, and although mine is open in the sense that anyone can apply, it doesn't matter how experienced you are. I want it to be a show where I
yeah,
want the audience to have fun. I want the comedians to have fun, and most importantly, I want to have fun. I don't want
yeah,
to. If I ever started doing shows and I've sat there and thought, "What am I doing?" I'll stop. I'm not. I'm not going to put people through an experience where no one's having fun. That's more of a hostage situation than it is
yeah,
stand-up comedy. So yeah, for me, it's just kind of nights, just kind of saying, right, let's create an audience, and you see it in places like Manchester, Beat the Frog, King Gong, which are technically like, granted, gong shows, but
yeah,
they do get people who go, I want to go and see this. And it's, they
yeah,
don't know who's going to be there, but they want to go because they know that it's going to be a laugh. And part of that, fortunately, I tend to host a lot of my nights, but it falls on me. Where if I'm
yeah,
having an off day, I I feel bad about it because I I should be, the way I always see emceeing is, you're with the audience, you're also watching it. You have got to kind of steer the night, and when you can't have somebody go on stage who doesn't do brilliantly. You can't go on stage and be like, "Oh, wasn't that fantastic? That was brilliant," because the
yeah,
audience won't believe you, and then
yeah,
you've kind of lost that trust between you and them. Kind of going, "Oh, that's a bit odd." Where if somebody goes up and says something funny, does a good set, I'll talk about it. If someone does not great, I'll try and add some laughter. Not, I won't ever be
yeah,
mean, be like, "Wow, shit," but I'll
yeah,
like riff off something they've said and try and get a laugh. And yeah, I think just there's so many open mics, and I mean, you can literally get up every day of the week if you wanted to, but the good ones are the ones that people want to apply to. And I think the
yeah,
fact that I've still got people who do my nights and want to keep on doing it, it shows me that I'm doing something well.
yeah. Yeah, I not to, as they say, blow smoke up your ass, but when I walked into Never Forever, and you walk into like the basement where it is, it immediately has a feel of almost like a purpose-built area for it,
Mm,
rather than a corner of a pub or something else. It's got something there, and
yeah,
you see the seats laid out, and you see the stage, and you can see where everybody should be sitting and where everybody should be looking
yeah. And I think
immediately.
that's such an important thing of you have got to kind of guide people, because if you leave audiences, the first thing they'll do is go sit at the back. Where no, I want
Yes,
you to go
yes,
sit at the front, and I will actively go and say, go sit at the front because it's much more. It's going to be much more fun for everybody. And
yeah,
I do think like a lot of American comedians who are always posting crowd work has kind of made everybody scared to sit in the front row. So
yeah.
sometimes I put a fake front row in. I just put a load of seats,
Uh,
and then just before the show starts, I pick up all the chairs and move them off. I went, "You're the front row now,"
yeah,
and
yeah,
because it's not, because I know that it's going to be fine. And if somebody was being horrible, I would say something. But it's just talking to people. Even then, it's an
yeah,
open mic. You shouldn't be doing much crowd work. Just try and get your jokes out and try and be funny, and then later down the line, see if you can include the audience. That's something I see every now and then of very new comedians being like, "Oh, in conversation, I'm funny." They try a few
yeah.
jokes, doesn't go down well, and they think, "Well, I'm just going to talk to people then." It's like, well, if you can't do the stuff you've already written, don't try and do it off the dome.
Yeah, that genuinely doesn't generally doesn't go very well, does it? Just off
No,
the cuff stuff. I've done it before, where you kind of you feel like something isn't working, and then you want to say something else, and then your brain just my brain just takes over and goes, don't do it, because you just know
yeah,
you've not prepared. It's like if you come back to, I don't know if you've ever done it, where you've done a set, you come back to an old set, and you've not prepared for that old set to be revisited,
mm,
and then you go and do it, and then as you're saying the bits that you realise you've forgotten something earlier, and then you get yourself into a muddle, and then it becomes a mess, and you're just not with it, and then you just made
yeah.
everything else look terrible, and you've given a really bad account of yourself. And I'm talking about this from experience in the last couple of weeks, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
It happens to everybody, and like
Yeah,
I've seen it before where you see like the freeze, I call it, where someone just kind of goes, "Oh,"
yeah,
and I've had mixed like reactions, not reactions, like responses of I'll just try and get the crowd to make as much noise as I can, just for a few seconds, where it just
yeah,
takes all of the eyes off the comedian, gives them a second to kind of get everything kind of get back in their head and kind of go from
yeah,
there. I know I've done it. I've got a bit where I talk about living at my parents' house and all of the silly little signs that they've got up everywhere. And there's two
mm.
signs, and they both have similar things. And I've done it before. I've got on stage and just said the first one twice. I went, well, you already knew that one actually. So yeah, it is of always having. I always have like a little backup joke that if I blank out, I just go,
Yeah,
right. I know I can say this because this joke can fit anywhere and it can go
yeah,
anywhere in the set. So it gets a few laughs, and by then I can go, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do with that. So
yeah,
that's what I'd say. Just always have a backup. Always have something that you can pull out and just be like, quick laugh as you recuperate.
yeah. So, uh, so basically, for the comedians, then we're talking that your nights are predominantly 5 minute sets with
Hmm.
a 10-minute headliner at some
Hmm.
point, first half, second half, I assume,
That's correct. And
that kind of thing.
I've actually just agreed with the Coin Laundry that we're going to start doing a monthly ticketed pro show. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
basically going to be using some of the people from the open mic, and all my shows are competitions. It's like a friendly
Mhm.
competition. So whoever wins the clap off at the end, I normally give them a silly prize and or a bit of cash or something. But I never like advertise it as like
Yeah,
a massive thing because some people are a bit daunted by that. But it's just a bit of fun.
yeah.
Like the prizes have been once I just gave somebody a head of lettuce, just made me laugh, and I've once it was 50 quid cash, and then
Yeah.
last week it was a old plate I bought at a charity shop that I wrote on it on paint marker saying "Slap and Giggle winner," and then I duct taped a tenner to the back of it. Like, it's just
Oh, nice.
silly. And it's like, I
Yeah.
like it because it means that people can go home and be like, why have you got an old like
Yeah.
nan's plate with Slap and Giggle written on it? And like, it's just funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, so using some of the acts that I've seen are good, to do 5 minute sets at the beginning, and then I'm going to have 2 10 minutes, who in the future I've got some friends of mine to do them who I know have good tens, and then
Mhm.
basically I'm paying out of pocket for this one just as a proof of concept of I've spoken to a few agencies about getting a headliner to come and close out the show doing 20 minutes. So that's money I'm
Yeah.
putting in myself. I'm very much expecting to have a bit of a loss from that, but if there's a
Yeah.
good night of comedy, hey, I'll lose a few quid. I mean, I'll make it back hopefully with the bucket of the
Yeah.
the open mic. So yeah, it's more of the love of the game, and also they really want me to put one on. So it'd be good to get something like a name that people know, or somebody off the
Yeah.
telly.
Yeah. I think they're also good nights for comedians to go to, whether they're actually performing or not.
Hmm.
Because it's when I say I mean like the open mic comedians, in that they can then go and watch somebody. I don't want to say the word professional, but you know what I mean. Somebody
Yeah,
that's established, professional, and watch them do their craft. 10 feet away from them, in a little venue that they've been on that stage. And I
exactly.
think that you can learn so much as a comedian from that kind of thing. And I think that's one of those things where I think open mic comedians that get the chance to go to some of these more experienced nights, even as a punter, should just take advantage, because I think especially if you're new, the amount of learnings you can get on how somebody handles themselves on a stage, what
Hmm.
they could do, and by you giving the opportunity for other people to see that, it can only be a positive thing.
Exactly. And I mean, since I've started my own nights, I don't tend to do other people's shows, and I
Mm.
tend to just do my shows because I've only got limited time and I'm tired all the time, and I just want to go to bed and I want to rest, and I don't want to be
Yeah,
out spending money, staying out late. I'd like to just be at my own shows, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to kind of change. Where I'm going to try and go to more pro nights, and I'm going to try and go to more like ticketed stuff, and kind of see
yeah,
what they're doing and what's working there. Because previously I was just going to open mics and seeing how an open mic should be run, and I think going forward I
hmm,
want to kind of see how shows are run and kind of go
yeah,
from there to create a better thing, and it will basically and it will blend over from the open nights. I intend for the future for if you win the clap off at the end, you get a 5 minute
yeah,
spot on another show. That's a non-bringer. That's you can go do your five and you can leave. All goes well, you can get tens, and I'm not at the point where I can pay every single act on the first show, but I'm
yeah,
trying to because I'm trying to. If I sell it out, then I'll try and give everybody a bit of money. But even if I sell it out, I'll probably still lose a few quid. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to get my friends and people who've helped me out and people who owe me one and things like that to come down. So yeah, it's a lot of things like that, and I'm hoping that going forward it'll be a monthly thing where I can get a nice pro show on, and it will help. I can promote it at the open mic night where people get in for free, and then with the
yeah,
pro shows, I can promote the open mic. It'd be like, if you like what you see, some of the people here have come from my night that I do here on Tuesdays. That's free to enter. Come down for that. It'd be lovely to see you, and it's just kind of one hand feeding the other. So going forward,
yeah,
that's the kind of thing I do want to do, of just kind of build up a proper audience where I don't want to be paying for ads. I'll be fully honest with you. For every show, I probably spend 50 quid on ads,
yeah,
and that's just to get people in. And that is me potentially not making money.
hmm,
And so I've got to try and put the work in, and because I want the audience members there. So yeah,
yeah,
it's a gamble on nights if I make money or not. And I've had two where I've run it at a loss, but I've learned from it and I've moved from it. But yeah, I'm
yeah,
not looking to be a millionaire. Be nice, but I'm just looking to make a few quid and hopefully, like, I love comedy, which is why I do it.
yeah,
The reason I started was I was drunk on a train coming back from a party, and an ad come up and it said, "Do you think you're funny? Raise money for charity." Oh, yeah, sure. Put all my details in, and they sent me an email like 3 weeks later, being like, "Oh, your first course thing is here." For so ever since then, I've just thrown myself in it.
Oh, that's cool. It's nice to hear it's always nice to hear from somebody as a promoter that loves the comedy they're doing and wants to just see good comedy and wants to be
Yeah,
part of the scene. Because I think one thing I've learned from doing this is that the open mic circuit is very much a community.
there's
You
group
see a
chats. There's so
lot,
many group chats.
yeah. You see so many of the same faces and stuff like that, and people, wanting to come and go and do things. And I don't know, you see, I have it where you see some of the same faces, but you don't necessarily remember their names or whatever. But as soon as they get up on the stage and start doing
It's
something,
instant. You go, oh, this is the
yeah,
person that jokes about their dog being hit by a car. Like, it's
yes,
always just the
exactly,
strangest things, and you know to expect it. And it's nice because you do see people progress. Like,
yeah,
I remember like from my first show that I've ever done. I saw even last week somebody who that was also their first ever show where they just signed up to do an open mic, and he was like, "Conor, how are you, mate?" Like, and he was performing at one of my nights, and he went up and he
yeah,
did really, really well. And I spoke to him after and went, "You can see that you've been really trying at it, and it is
yeah,
nice of just seeing people get better, and it's taking chances on people and going from there." Yeah, it's nice, and especially if someone's funny, and then you see them 2 months later and they're funnier, even better.
yeah.
But yeah, I have had a few people where I'm like, I've booked you probably too many times now. Let's have a little break because I could do your set, and it would not make sense. Like,
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I think that kind of on that kind of end, it brings this podcast to a nice kind of end. So, what's all the socials that people can find you on? And I'll link these all in the description of the podcast as well.
yeah, sure. So it's at Slap and Giggle. Surprisingly, no one had taken that. Yeah, at Slap and Giggle. The email was slapandgigglecomedy@gmail.com because someone had taken slap and giggle at gmail.com, which
Wow.
raises more questions than answers. Um, yeah, my name's Conor Lahane. You can find me. My own Instagram is at Conor Stand Up. I'm in the process of getting a work phone because I realize how many people try and get hold of me via calling and texting and things like that, and I, my phone's full, and I just want to have one phone that I can turn on, have people contact me, like texting and WhatsApping and things like that, because I mainly communicate
Yep.
via email, and I've got 62 emails. So yeah, I've had people try and ask to call me, and I don't like giving out my personal number because I've
Yep.
had it before in jobs where you give people your personal number and then you're getting called at 3 o'clock in the morning when you should not be being
Yep.
spoken to. So yeah, I'm going to try and sort that out. So that will be on the Instagram as well. But Instagram's my main hub. To anybody who's watching this and didn't think I'm an absolute idiot and wants to perform at one of my shows or anything, like definitely get in touch. Every now and then, if bringers aren't your thing, which I think is completely fair enough, that's its own conversation. I try and do on some of my bigger shows. I let one person have a non-bringer, just in
Yep.
kind of return for helping me take some pictures and helping me with timing because I'm awful at admin, so bad. And you would think even just something as simple as sitting down and pushing start on a stopwatch would be easy, but I do not. I've just like I sit there sometimes. I'm like, I wonder how long they've done. I have no idea. So, and also I smashed the back of my phone, so I can't take pictures with it. So, just having someone I can say, can you just take some pictures and like remind me not
Yeah.
to remind me to do my job? Because I think that, yeah, if I've got enough space, I might as well have a few non-bringers.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Cool. Thank you for that. And for us on the podcast, you can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on all the W's at openmiccomedypod.com. Please follow and review this podcast on your favourite providers' apps. It does help boost the amount of people that can see it. And also share it with anyone you think would enjoy it. And especially share it with other comedians, especially this episode. Because if there's comedians out there who haven't performed with Slap and Giggle that fancy giving it a go, the details are all here. So until next time, thank you, Conor.
Thank you, Mark.
And Until next time, stay funny on stage, and I'll speak to you all very soon.